Hello friends, welcome back to the channel and welcome to everything I read in May. So without any further ado, let's start with the first book, and that is a reread actually. I talked about this in my previous vlog here on the channel, and I reread the Dark Artifices series by Cassandra Clare, so I obviously started with Lady Midnight. These are the collector's special editions, whatever they're called. By Simon & Schuster, but this is Lady Midnight followed by Lord of Shadows. This is how the cover looks like. And then last but not least, I think this is considered a weapon, or can be considered a weapon because this is massive. This is Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare. If you don't know, Cassandra Clare writes mostly in the Shadowhunters universe, and this fall we have a new book in the Shadowhunters universe. It is called The Last King of Faerie, and I think it's going to come out on the 3rd of November. So in preparation for that book and in preparation for the start of a new series in the Shadowhunters universe that is also going to be the last one that we're getting in this universe, which I'm kind of bummed about, but it just feels bittersweet, and I wanted a refresher on the Dark Artifices. Famously, this is not my favorite, or this used to be not my favorite spin-off of the Shadowhunters, if you will, but after my reread, I am happy to report that I love these characters so much now. The first time when I read this series, I feel like I was just so concentrated on the plot and everything that was happening with all of the directions that we were going in, that I didn't really pay that much attention to the characters, which was honestly a shame because this is a very character-driven trilogy, as with all of Cassandra Clare's books, I feel like. So, if you don't know, this particular trilogy within the Shadowhunters universe follows Emma Carstairs and Julian Blackthorne as they are trying to navigate their complicated feelings towards one another. In this world of the Shadowhunters, you have a specific ritual that is called the Parabatai ritual, and a Parabatai means that you are actually linking your souls, kind of, and you get augmented powers, but also in the same time you feel everything that the other Parabatai is feeling. So if one of you gets stabbed or gets sick, the other one is going to feel that as well. Emma and Julian are Parabatai from a very young age, and now as they're growing older, they're 17, 18 in this trilogy, they start to catch feelings for one another. But unfortunately for them, all Parabatai are actually forbidden from falling in love. Obviously, they don't specify why, just the fact that it is forbidden. And in the Shadowhunters universe, the law is hard, but it is the law, so all of them have to respect it. This series is that kind of best friends since childhood, friends to lovers, forbidden love kind of a situation, if you will. Emma Carstairs famously is not very in touch with her feelings and emotions, and Julian also is very closed off when it comes to that, so they have to find a way to mend their Parabatai relationship in the light of these new feelings that are emerging. Other than Emma and Julian, we have an amazing supporting cast of characters. We have Diana, who is their tutor, and her story, oh my god, I was sobbing. I was sobbing the first time when I heard her origin story, if you will, and I was also sobbing this time around. I think it is, actually don't remember in which book we find out what's kind of like her past and where she's coming from. But I always cry when I reach that part into the book. So we have Diana, we also have Christina, Mark, Kieran, Ty, Livia, Drew, Tavi. Did I forget anyone? I don't think so. This just starts sounding like that Taylor Swift song, Chloe or Sam or Sophia or Marcus. But these characters are so well done and so well portrayed, and all of them have things that make them stand out on their own, and each of their stories is just immaculate and elite. And I'm, as I was saying earlier, like so happy that I reread this story because it just gets better. Yeah, I would highly recommend, if you read this like a long time ago, maybe refresh your memory before the new book is going to come out. Also, from Lady Midnight, chapter 18, if you know, you know. And consider this your reminder that you can read the unedited version of chapter 18, or like an unedited scene from chapter 18 on cassandra.claire.tumblr.com. You're welcome. Okay, moving along from the Shadowhunters universe. Next up, in May, I read a book that was very highly anticipated for me, and that is Seek the Traitor's Son by Veronica Roth. My edition has these sprayed edges that I really don't like. On the top and bottom, they look so messy, especially on the top. Like, it just looks like my edition has dust on top of it, but it's nothing there. I think it's just glue that got stuck to the black spray paint, but that's not important. So this book is actually part of a duology. It just came out at the beginning of May, if I'm not mistaken, and I just couldn't wait to find another edition. So I found this one in stock and I bought it because I really wanted to read this book sooner. It was fine. There were some things that were a bit predictable, especially in the beginning. The ending I absolutely loved because after a certain point in the story, you have this feeling that a specific thing is going to happen in the end, and that exact thing happened. And I was very happy about that because it was the most logical outcome, especially in the context of a duology. So this book, Seek the Traitor's Son, we are set in this sci-fi dystopian kind of world, and the majority of the population is the Talusar. Talusars, they are all infected with this virus, this disease, that's called the fever, and they actually think of the fever as their god, so they're venerating this virus, this infection. The fever, once you are infected with it, is going to kill you, but the people that are strong enough are going to be brought back to life after a couple of days since they passed away. And once they're coming back to life, they also gain new powers. Most of these Talusar people can see the past, but there is a specific group of Talusar who have a very niche and unique and rare ability of seeing the future, and these are the augurs. Because the augurs are predicting the future, at the beginning of this book, they have a prophecy for Elegy. Elegy is the daughter of the sword of Cedra. Cedra is the opposing population in the world of this book. The Cedra people don't think about the fear as a god, but they see it as what it truly is, arguably, which is an infection that kills people. So the Cedra population doesn't really want to be infected with this infection, with this virus, and they have kind of come up with their own way to augment their powers, which is with this elixir, I'm pretty sure it was called in the book. As I was saying, the augurs have a prophecy for Elegy, but the prophecy is not only for her, it is also for Rava Vidar. Rava Vidar is pretty much seen as the most powerful Talusar, and the augurs are bringing them together to tell them that in the very near future, one of them is going to bring victory for their specific nation or people, but that means that the other one is going to be defeated. And this kind of starts the chain of events from this first book, because both of them obviously want to bring the victory home for their nation, for their population. But in doing that, they might discover something that was hidden about their world. As I was saying, a bit predictable from time to time. Also, the romance, I didn't really care for it. But other than that, I really liked the world building and all of the dystopian sci-fi elements. I found them really, really enjoyable. Also, I don't know why, but at the beginning of this book, I just thought this is going to be like a fantasy book. So for the first couple of chapters, I was like really confused. Why are we discussing so much about space and spaceships, and at a certain point like alien populations and stuff like that? So I didn't really catch on from the very beginning, but once I understood, oh, this is sci-fi, like it makes sense, then I started to enjoy this one. So once again, this is Sick the Traitor's Son by Veronica Roth. Next up, in May, I read a graphic novel written by Olivia Blake and illustrated by Little Kimura. This is Clara and the Devil. I was actually at the bookstore when I saw this graphic novel, and I wasn't really aware that this was released yet, so I was very excited to buy it and read it. Unfortunately, the writing in this one, like the actual story, I just found it a bit too generic and vague for my liking, and also specifically because it is Olivia Blake and I love her books so much. Some of them are kind of misses. I would categorize this one as a miss as well for me personally. But other ones are so good. Like my favorite book, or I should say one of my favorite books of all time, is One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake. I also really like what else? Gifted and Talented, which is one of the newer releases. Girl Dinner, Masters of Death, January's. Like I'm looking at them because I have them on my shelf here. But I just have so many favorites from Olivia Blake, and unfortunately this book is not really one of them, which is fine. You know, I don't have to like all of the books of my favorite authors, but this was just like a bit disappointing because I had high hopes for this. So if it wasn't obvious from the title of this book, Clara and the Devil, I hope I didn't say Clara and the Sun in the beginning because I made that mistake before. Clara and the Sun is an amazing novel by Kazuo Ishiguro. This is Clara and the Devil. So as the title says, one day when Clara is working at the library that she's working at, the devil makes an appearance, and he's actually a human, and he basically tempts her to accept her deepest fantasies and desires, let's say. And again, kind of vague. Kind of vague, and I don't think we really hit the nail on the head with this one. But the artwork is just absolutely stunning. There was this one like specific illustration that I wanted to show you. I think it's actually this one. This is so cool. It is a full page illustration and it looks absolutely amazing. I hope my camera is able to pick it up correctly. Yeah, for the rest of the novel, it just looks kind of like this. It is very dark as a color palette, which I think works really well with the atmosphere that Olivia Blake is trying to portray throughout this story. But again, it just didn't work for me. These are my thoughts on Clara and the Devil by Olivia Blake and illustrated by Little Kimura. Hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. After this, I read a book that I didn't really know anything about when I picked it up. This is Wreck by Catherine Newman. The cover really caught my eye in the bookstore, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna buy it and read it sometime. And I actually read it sooner than I thought at that time. This is actually part of a series that I think is one of those like interconnected standalones kind of a thing. And this is actually the second book in that series. And after my amazing experience with this book, I am very intrigued and excited to read the first one as well. Hopefully I can get the matching hardcover edition of that one. But that's besides the point. The main character of this book is Rocky. She's married to her husband Nick, and together they have two kids, Jamie and Willa. The event that pretty much starts unraveling everything that happens in this book is an accident involving one of Jamie's former classmates. I think they were in high school together or something like that. Unfortunately, Jamie's classmate was hit by a train and he didn't make it. So Willa and Rocky and at a later point Jamie start to think about the ethics and the morality of that, because this boy wasn't just hit by a train because of his recklessness or because he was at the wrong place at the wrong time or something like that. He was killed because the actual system that kind of like alerts you that a train is coming when it is intersecting a road didn't work. So it is kind of the fault of the railroad company, and that sends them on a complete spiral. Willa is suffering with anxiety. Her mom has anxiety as well. They're both medicated, and at the very beginning of the book, Rocky also gets this skin rash that starts to expand as we read more and more from this book. She obviously goes to the doctor, and she might find out that she has to do some extra tests because they're not really sure what started this skin rash. It is very suffocating, I would describe it. It is so raw and tender in the same time, but as I was saying, it gives you this feeling of suffocation. Me personally, I really liked this book and the characters and this atmosphere that almost makes you feel like you're in a tight space and you can't breathe. Perfect time for me to read Wreck by Catherine Newman. I think the first book in this series is called Sandwich. Really good, would highly recommend. And then towards the end of May, I just felt a bit iffy and a bit overwhelmed, and I don't know, I wasn't just like really in the mood to read anything. So I found this my internet stopped working. I found this book that was recently published and I was like, this just sounds like a good time. It is called Field Guide for the Formerly Villainous by Autumn K. England. I never heard about this author previously, but the cover of this book is gorgeous, and it just sounded like one of those cozy, low-stake fantasy books. And I just thought I might give it a go. This book follows our main character. I think their name was Oakland or something like that. No, apparently it's Oakland Nettlewood. I already forgot. But Oakland Nettlewood was formerly part of a cult that wanted to dominate the world, basically. And this cult pretty much corrupted the minds of their disciples and they fully mind controlled them. So they were just like in this war, they were killing people, but they were controlled by this cult. They didn't really have any sort of control over their mind or body, which is just like terrifying. And now, because this cult was defeated, Oakland wants to start a new life, to start fresh, to just buy a farm somewhere very private and to just live their life as best as they can, and also to process everything that they went through. The tagline for this book says Stardew Valley meets Studio Ghibli, and I definitely had that feeling while reading the book. There were certain points in the book where I just felt our main character surpassed their past experiences a bit too easily, but again, like everyone's experience is different, I guess, and that's just like my opinion and how I view things. But you might have a completely different one if you read the same book. I really liked the found family aspect of this book. It's one of those small towns where everyone is kind of taking care of one another and is just caring for the well-being of the population overall, which I found really, really charming. We also have a little bit of romance blooming between Oakland and another character who we meet later in the book, which I thought was tastefully done, let's say. This book was a really nice surprise because, as I said, I just like decided to read it based on the cover. I didn't really know anything about it going into it. But I just really like the representation and the good vibes that it evokes, while also having these more nuanced and complex discussions about trauma, about feelings, about how we feel and how the other people view us and stuff like that. So yeah, I thought it was well done. And it also has a very cute dog that makes an appearance from time to time on this farm, which I found quite charming as well. And also potentially a ghost, if I remember correctly. So yeah, this is Field Guide for the Formerly Villainous by Autumn K. England. This was really fun and I would recommend it. It reminded me a lot of like the Kingfisher books that are more cozy fantasy or like in that space. And I'm also seeing that this is potentially the start of a new series, so I would be interested to see who will we follow next in this series, if we will get more installments. Last but not least, and I am so sorry to end on a low note, but the last book that I read in May was Bromantasy by Marie Roche. Listen, I was promised 2 heroes and 1 brain cell. This is the tagline of the book that's like forefront on the cover of the book. I did not get that impression or that feeling at all while reading this. This was just so infuriatingly bad, in my opinion. Again, this was a lot. And I wanted to DNF this at multiple points, and I kind of sort of DNF'd it in the sense that I didn't read the last 10 or 15 pages because I was like, there's no point in this. Like, I don't like this one at all. I kept pushing and pushing myself to finish it because I thought that it's going to go somewhere. It didn't. It just fully didn't. This follows 2 guys who are best friends, and they might be in love with one another, but they have the emotional intelligence of a potato. And so they don't know how to communicate that. My main issue with this book, though, is that the whole time, the whole book, we were in the point of view of a character who I found absolutely insufferable. And because of that, I just don't know how much of a reliable character or how much of a reliable narrator they are. Like, I just didn't understand their point of view and where they're coming from. And I just, as I was saying, like, I found them annoying, and because of that, I just like couldn't enjoy this book. Also, again, in my opinion, personally, this is not that well written. The only positive things for me with this book, the cover is really, really nice. That's what fooled me into picking up this one. And also there's a dragon at a certain point in the book, and the dragon is quite charming, I'm not gonna lie, but not enough to save this story for me. And yeah, with that, this is everything I read in May. Please let me know in the comments down below what was your favorite book that you read recently. I would like to know because I'm always on the lookout for new books. And thanks for watching, and I guess I'll see you in the next video here on the channel. Bye everyone.